Pras kontat rabikte zatva. Tvel elmzdez valvrashu shafsnag. Spiki pagagami fshkrad. Bal asno idshifsmotal.
02.
Pras
When
kontat
main
rabikte
patrols in a
zatva.
wire curved zone,
Tvel
call fire
elmzdez
to water
valvrashu
plus gas.
shafsnag.
250. 24 hours, 6 feet. A ridge fireball, track 60 feet. Water. 2. We off gas zone. Said, for connection, call anytime.
Part 1, Scoring. Graphic score. A graphic score is the representation of music through the use of visual symbols outside the realm of traditional Western music notation. This living graphic score is the representation of multi- and interdisciplinary artistic expression through the use of visual elements, including video, outside the realm of any traditional notation and only borrows from music notation where needed. In this small section of the score, two groups of artists from diverse artistic backgrounds are invited to play. Artists invited to this project not only play the score in their means of artistic expression but also contribute to it by expanding the ways in which it can be played. This score can be played, sung, spoken, danced, sculpted, printed, painted, drawn, or whatever the artist is called to do. This section is for two groups, playing and improvising together simultaneously. A new, deeper form of listening is key. Click on an animated part of the score to expand its additional living components that are to be treated as an equal part of it and to be freely interpreted, unless otherwise indicated. Part 2. Shaped pattern. A shape has an outline. This one has 5 angles, 5-sided, screw head, 5 petals, a blossom, core of an apple, defense. A stamp means object to outline, 3D to 2D. From one to many. This world becomes a map. Shapes overlap. Create second and third shapes. Become pattern. Become familiar. Walking shapes. For example, walk this shape 1 time. 5 steps. Stone to remember. 5 steps. Stone. A pentagon. 2 other groups join in, each in opposite directions. Group 2, walk 5 steps, a corner. For each side, 5 steps. Group 3, 5 steps, for each side. Walking like stamping, from hot wax to textile. Right to left. Right, left. Wet footprints on a surface. It's hard not to walk in circles. Right?
Okay, we are just giving a brief overview of Stoff, Stuk, our piece, and we just had our little presentation and thought we were gonna give like a bit more of an explanation about the piece itself and where it comes from, what it actually is. And I think in one short phrase, one can say that what is Stoffstück? What is it going to be? It is an installation piece that is based on a graphic score with multiple different parts. And we're going to dig a little bit more into the different parts of the score.
Yeah, so we can start with like the elements we gave back and forth to each other. Like we noticed we wanted to start from really our practice, and through that find a way like what we want to do together, what we find important as artists to share in this project, thinking of the topics that were brought to us here. And so then Luisa went to the zip code 10001 and photographed like all forgotten details from the city there, and also having in mind that I'm dying with like rust and plants that I find in the city. So yeah, she shot a lot of beautiful details that are not the fancy skylines that were used of that part of Manhattan, but really like forgotten bits and pieces. And then also, so I give answers in textile on that, and she composed also on that then a collage of text bits that were also present in that neighborhood.
So yeah, really like different types of just little tiny details, and like even words and syllables like on posters or on little imprints, just using the syllables, creating almost a new language with those words that were found. Yeah.
And then through that we were thinking like how can we like give more insight in a way of thinking which is so elaborate, or like we both like accumulate a lot of stuff in our work, like in our process, like is there a way to hand this over, something like that can speak to all the senses, like in a form of a score, in a written document, or like written in a document that can be translated in many ways. So then we both started to kind of model a score part. Luisa started with one for that could be like with the idea of music and also other art forms.
Yeah, and just right, kind of the score itself, like the section that we were presenting. We presented a couple of parts of the score. We were focusing on two different sections. The first section is mostly an example of how other artists could be engaged in this, like inviting other artists and their way of interpreting. So really, the idea is to have a completely open form and really have like a multimedia cross-disciplinary invitation for artists, inviting people with different backgrounds, and so the score itself is really compiled of these stills, of these details of the city shots of the 1001 zip code stills, together with Ada's artwork, and also images of I did body interpretations of the stamp that Ada was creating. She was doing a lot of stamping on the first part of the piece that she was working on, and just interpreting those stamps. And the idea is really talking about the imprint an impact a human has on land or on ground. Also, the whole thing of bird perspective was something that we were interested in, like different perspectives. A city is usually often seen frontal. This is more of a bird perspective view where almost everything has the same height. So this was something we were working.
Yeah, and also the idea of taking a symbol out of somebody else's work into a new journey of transformation, like because I think that's really important, that we should like pass this on, that it's okay to take elements and to make them your own and to add stuff to it, to reinterpret it, and to do that also to, as an artist, to pass your own work on as well, for that to happen.
Right, which is why we chose the medium of a score, which is like something, it's a blueprint, but you can it's open for interpretation. It's not like
just like words, that they can have different meanings and function in different sentences.
Right. And so some parts of the score can have musical notation, don't have to have, but can. Some parts of the score can just be sounds, can just be images. And so it's a living score. What does that mean? That is, if you can even, apart from the PDF that you're going to be sent with the score itself, there will be also a file that is actually clickable, where you can press on different sections, or you can open different sections that are animated sections, and another window will pop up with those detailed additional impressions that you're going to get. So some of them, you just see an image of a stamp, for example, you press on it, you will maybe, it merges into the image of the body, you will hear a sound, or you will hear part of the composition. So really having an interactive score, almost a multimedia score. And then
from that we went to like taking over shapes from the city, like the footage Luisa shot. Like I kind of modeled shapes on that, and then those shapes I used as a stamp for textiles. And then in the second part of the score, I'm explaining that, like how how three-dimensional objects, how we like to transform that in a symbol and then multiply that, and then it gets a function in a whole, which is called a pattern, or yeah, a language. And the score shows like how you could kind of walk those patterns, like with different people, different speeds, different directions, and professionals and passers-by, like how this could spontaneously like become an action that can take place in open air.
Right, exactly. And yeah, just basically incorporating people is like really important to both of us. Is like, how can we widen the horizon, and also like not in terms of just interpretation and ways of working. So like incorporating different artists, but also inviting people and inviting communities, and also maybe performing the piece, having the installation happening around neighborhoods that might not necessarily easily have access to art as much. And
and like above languages and stuff, because it's very visual and about texture and doing. Like the score also explains little parts of a working process which can be imitated. So it's super broad. And yeah, I think then in the end we go back to the textile, like folding of the textile I stamped. And I guess that's like kind of a reminder that like the scores we made can be a digital file which can be shared and seen on device, but that it actually comes from textile, like used to be a form and is still a form of communication and of like all the different elements used to be telling something about like the people dealing, a culture dealing with codes and customs, and that we can bring this to a next level in our contemporary world, like which function does this have and which functions can this still get, focusing on communication, I guess.
Right. How can we bring art to people, and what is even our role in that?
Yeah.
Great. Good. And here's my cat, just for the final. Hey, Sam's like, this is also.
Oh.
So.
First time I saw her.
Yeah. Samson.
Maybe she can also participate.
You can also participate, Samson. All right.
Yeah.
Let's take a note of it. It's like. Great.
Okay. Yeah, that's it, I guess.
And yeah, to see this project is like a very big one, but these are multiple different parts. They're smaller. These are just sections, but so we're really digging into how can we develop and how can we add, and there's already a lot of ideas brewing, so that's fun. All right.
Mm-hmm. And how can we let go, like
right,
also give things away to next generations, other people.
right.
Yeah.
With document that can be added to. Well, thank you.